And we are finally live.
All right,
What's
all
good,
right.
everybody? We're finally live. I'm not even going to waste any time to try to wait for everybody to get in here. Um, I'm just going to dive right into it, guys, and hopefully, um, I hope you guys are able to tune in later. And if you see me looking away, I'm still trying to operate everything on the computer as well. So, yes. But this woman over here is my special guest. And the topic for today is called Broken Woman. Just because of how I'm feeling. Not saying that we are broken, but sometimes you feel broken,
Mm-hmm.
So before I get started into my story, I'm going to let this queen introduce herself and then we'll get started.
Hello, family. How y'all doing today? My name is Lacee Le Beau, or you can also call me Miss Lacee Le Beau Rise. I am a life coach as well as a model and a poet, as well as a speaker. Um, and of course, I will be contributing to this phenomenal conversation that I feel like is well overdue. For me personally, I think there's a lot of conversations that we don't have for the sake of wanting to shield ourselves from judgment as well as trying to keep other people from not only judging but from gossiping about our most vulnerable moments. But we don't realize opening up about these things can help people get through their adversity and their trauma, and so they know that they're not alone. So hopefully, with my experience along with Miss Kween Katt, we'll be able to allow a bunch of you other sisters know that you're not alone in your experience and that you do have other people to lean on for support. So I'm beyond ecstatic about being here with y'all today.
Awesome, awesome. So I would say I started feeling like, of course, you have this on and off. Anybody who suffered from issues dealing with child loss or infertility or anything like that, you have your good days and you have your bad days. I don't think personally that the feeling of child loss ever goes away. I think we learn how to manage it. And like I said, some days I can talk fine, like I'm doing right now, and some days I'm a mess. I cry.
Mm.
Just the thought of it, just the mention of it. Um, but what started making me feel broken, I'm gonna have a transparent moment. We are not celebrities, but we have pretty decent platforms, and we're beautiful women, and men come at you all the time or whatever. And because of what I do, I'm not nasty with them. I entertain to a certain extent. I like when I say entertain, I talk back to them
Mhm.
or whatever. So I had this one guy who's always flirting and just chopping it up or whatever, and on Instagram, and he was asking about the baby situation, and I've thought about the polygamy situation plenty of times or whatnot. We haven't found that right person, somebody that's serious about the whole family building structure. So he and I were discussing that, and he was like, well, um, what about children? And I said, we have one, and we're, working on another. And he was asking, who would carry. And I opened up, and I told him my situation. I was like, I've had two ectopic pregnancies, so I wouldn't be able to carry. My wife was going to carry for us. And I kid you not, conversation stopped. And it was like, wow, he ghosts me. Like
Mm.
he ghosts me because I'm broken. Like I don't work. Like I really felt like
Wow.
a kid, and since then, like I said, that conversation happened about a month ago. Um, and it's not even the fact that I want a relationship with this person. It was just how it happened. It hurt my feelings so bad. You know what I'm saying? And it was
Mhm.
like, like I said, that thought, like, oh, he don't want to talk to me because I don't work. Like I'm a broken female. So a lot of
Mhm.
times when people see something and they say, oh, broken, they think spiritually. you know. And of course you might be broken spiritually, but mentally I feel that my body is broken, like it don't work like it should, you know.
Yes.
So that's what inspired this topic. And I had like a complete breakdown, I would say Saturday before last, and they said there's some kind of portal or energy that's going on right now because of where we are, you know, with astrology or whatnot, where you have to a part of healing is digging up those old wounds. So I guess that was, this is something that I am on a next step of healing. And my wife and I have been trying to conceive for the past year, where it was me working on my body. You know, I've joined the Queen Afua. I'm a Queen Afua graduate, Emerald Green holistic practitioner. And so I've been putting more into practice. You know, my eating habits have changed. You know, I did all the necessary steps. I even went to the doctor after 9 years. Doctor said I'm as healthy as a horse, you know, but when it came to the baby, we didn't have any luck with that, with the trying to do the at-home insemination. And so we went to the doctors again. This year I was like, okay, I give up with my body. Let's try the other way around. So the doctors were saying, you know, the egg retrieval for me is pretty tough as well, because when I had I had to have surgery. I would say the first time that I conceived, I was in my previous marriage. It was 2 weeks before I was about to get married, and I found out I was pregnant. Ecstatic. I wanted 4 kids. That was my dream. I wanted the big white house. Wow.
4 boys.
Wow. Yep.
Yes, that's so interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, my go-to was like, yep, I want 4, all sons, all kings. Definitely.
Yes. And I did too, because I grew up with all sisters. So my daddy is surrounded by girls.
Okay.
You know? So I was like, I gotta bring the boy for my father, you know. And I'm so simple, you know, like my dream was the golden retriever, the 4 dogs, the big white house with the white picket fence, and my station wagon.
That's so funny, because my favorite dog is a lab retriever.
Wow.
I've had a black lab for the last, I don't know, 4 years. By far my favorite animal.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's crazy. So yeah, that was the dream. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks before I was about to get married, and I started bleeding, you know, and I've struggled with abnormal bleeding. So, you know, I panicked, but the doctors were saying, you know, because you struggle with abnormal bleeding, some women bleed through their pregnancy, you know, and it's completely normal, but go to the doctor. So the first doctor I went to, they did the ultrasound. Immediately they was like, go to MUSC. I went to MUSC. I'm confused at this point, you know, because it's like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong? Everybody's panicky, you know. What was wrong was they could not see the baby, but they could see that I was pregnant.
Wow.
So, but they weren't telling me that. So MUSC is a hospital that has a lot of students. So I would say within an hour, I'm surrounded by maybe 20 doctors, each one of them probing with a vaginal ultrasound, trying to find the baby. Nobody's telling me at this point. I'm just sitting there confused, laying on the table like a lab rat. So that's the trauma. And then after that, they were telling me, okay, we have to give you a shot because we don't see, you know, you have an ectopic pregnancy. This is the first time I'm hearing it. At this point, this is back in 2011, so it wasn't anything normal. It was like I was pregnant with a ghost. And so they were excited about that because that's something that they didn't see a lot of. But me, on the other hand, this is hell, you know? So I went through that. And from February to May, I had to get a shot. I had to get a shot, which is a shot that they give cancer patients to dissolve the baby wherever it's at. When they call it an ectopic pregnancy, it's supposed to be in your tube. That means it's not in my tube. but I didn't know that. And they were
Wow.
expressing that to me. So we go back and forth with them continuing to give me this shot, because sometimes the levels of my blood, that's how they were monitoring if I was still pregnant, by having to test me by drawing blood. So you can't get any blood from my arms, because they did it so much, like they blew my veins in my arms. But yeah, so this went on from February to May. I go to another doctor because I'm having so much pain. It's a lot, and I don't want to skip over. I know it might be too long for some, but this is the part that makes it hard for me to even think about conceiving myself or giving birth myself. Losing the baby was tough, but the whole experience of the doctors was the worst part of it. Even with us trying now, having to go to the doctor when they mention vaginal ultrasound, it was like, nah, like I'm not gonna be able to do that. So that was a fear. So that same thing went on. Like I said, I lost jobs, I lost everything because I couldn't work, because I had to go to the doctor every other day to get blood drawn to make sure the baby was dissolving. They told me that it was dissolved around May. I started having pain, so I went somewhere else. I went to another doctor. And he did all the tests, and he was like, "Oh, it's a fibroid. That's probably why you've been having abnormal bleeding all this time. So we're not going to worry about it. That's probably why you lost the baby." That's what he said. We'll try again in 2 more weeks to make sure. So 2 weeks go by. I come back. The fibroid went from 4 centimeters to, it's huge now. So he's like, "Okay, we have to have surgery like tomorrow." So I go, I have the surgery. I wake up from surgery from the nurses saying, "Okay, we got it. We got the baby." So I was still pregnant.
Wow.
I was still pregnant the whole time. And so when the doctor panicked, I guess. He left the hospital. My husband at the time, my mom don't even know I'm out of surgery. Everybody's in a panic or whatnot. So when he finally does come back and talk to me, found out he did not connect my tube back. So what happened was the baby was stuck between my uterus and my tube. So they couldn't see that. They didn't know where it was. And that's why, like, I skipped over a lot, because they locked me in a room one night because they told me to come for a shot. It was an emergency. I was going to die if I didn't get the shot, because the baby would explode or whatever. So I rushed down there to get the shot. I get there, they lock me in a room, and they make me do a DNC, which is the suction of your uterus. And to me, I'm thinking that you're making me have an abortion, because if the baby is not in my uterus, why are you sucking my uterus?
Yeah.
But that was them, not knowing where the baby was, and instead of telling me, "Hey, we just trying to be safe because we don't know where this baby is, we're gonna do this," but they just did it. And like I said, I never cried like I cried that night. Like, I sobbed to where my body was shaking. I could not speak. I could not control my shakes. It was just like a traumatic experience. Like, because to them, I was a lab rat. To them, I was just another patient. It's just like a person who flipping burgers, like, you don't care about my life. That's
Exactly.
not your job.
And now I'm going to say that's the worst part, is because you're already having a traumatizing experience, but these hospitals, after doing the job for so long, they lose their bedside manner. So they treat you like this shouldn't be a thing for you.
Exactly.
And it's the dismissive experience that makes you want to just allow yourself to be filled with rage at these people, because like, this is what you do for a living. People come to you when they're sick because this is a healing organization, and you deal with people in that way. And it traumatizes you to the point to where not only do you not want a child, you don't want to try again.
Yeah.
You don't want to deal with these nasty people either.
Yeah.
Because even if it doesn't work out, they just say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and shut the door and let you sit in there and grieve. And you don't see the care in them.
Exactly.
And it's so sad. I definitely
Exactly.
can relate to that 100%. That was definitely one of the worst parts about my journey too.
Yeah. And that and so they told me that I couldn't get pregnant. This time you know, and then when he was like, I disconnected your tube. If you want me to put it back, I'll put it back. I'm like,
Yep.
my stomach is stapled together. Like, don't you think you should have put it? I didn't tell you to take it apart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you took it apart. It was an emergency situation. I get it, but why would I want you to cut me again or open me back up at this point before you put my tube back? So, I walked around, tube hanging or whatever. I don't know how it is. You know, when I go to doctors now, they're like, oh, they're still trying to understand what's going on. I can't tell you what's going on because I don't know what he did. I don't know if he put it in a knot and just left it hanging there or if it was just hanging there.
Right.
But I recently found out that my tube was trying to heal itself, so it is attached somewhere as far as to my where it's supposed to be, but it's not right. You know, so which is probably why I'll have pain, you know, even more as I'm getting older. And then I ended up getting pregnant that same year in October because they told me I couldn't get pregnant. So of course you're not trying to not get pregnant. You're married. Right. And so I ended up getting pregnant in October, and I went to another doctor, and they panicked and everything. Like I said, now it's like a 3% chance that a person could end up with ectopic pregnancy. You know, so I went to the doctor, and they tried to do the same thing the other hospital was doing as far as you got to do this. And I was like, okay, if you can't show me the baby in my tube, then I'm gonna die. If you say I'm gonna die, I'm just gonna hey, I'm out because I'm not about to let you make me feel like I'm gonna kill my child. You know, if you can't show me. So that one I ended up seeing in the tube. They did the ultrasound on my stomach, the normal one, and I was able to see that one, and that kind of like gave me a little bit more peace than the first one. And so after that, like I said, I've tried, but the pregnancy is not coming, you know. So we're trying to do the IVF situation, and that gets discouraging because it's so expensive, you know. And insurance in South Carolina doesn't cover, you know, that certain places that you work might cover infertility, but it's really all on the woman, you know. So yeah, that's my story. And you can
and that's so heavy that you even went through all of that. But to know that you went through all of that without I mean, of course, family support and all of that is paramount. But when you have the doctors that are caring for you, you want to trust them. And you don't trust them when they're nasty and they don't answer your questions directly. They talk over you. They talk at you. They act like things are too complicated for you to grasp. You know, you're having an experience and then you don't understand it while you're having the experience, which the only way you can continue to let everything play out is almost to allow yourself to go into autopilot or neutral mode so you don't feel what's happening in the room. Because if you allow it to set in what you're going through, you'll lose it.
Yep.
And it's so heavy because I know for me and my experience, I haven't lost any pregnancies, but I've dreamt about being a mom my entire life. Just like Queen was saying, I by 25, I said I should have 4 sons.
Mine was 23.
So I've been planning this. I was one of those girls that I knew what my color scheme was going to be for my wedding before I had the man picked out. Like I had everything, the dog, the fence, everything. I knew everything that was going to exist in my life. And in 2017, I was just getting off work, hopped into the shower, and I'm washing up, singing, doing my little thing, and put the loofah on my torso, and I'm scrubbing across my stomach, and I realized I can feel it right here, but as soon as I get over here, there's no sensation. I don't feel the scratchy feeling on my skin. So I kept playing with it and going, to make sure I'm not losing it. I'm like, no, for real. How do you feel it over here, but you can't feel it over here? And because it was so abnormal, I told myself, you know, you're just tired. Go lay down, you know, sleep it off. And I got in the bed, I went to sleep. I woke up the next day and I still had that sensation on the right side of my torso, but now my left arm, my entire left arm felt that way as well. So I spent a lot of time kind of rubbing on myself, like doing all this weird stuff. And I still kept talking myself out of it, like, okay, you slept wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And I went to work and then it escalated to now it's the right side of my torso, my left arm, my right leg. By 11 a.m. that morning, from the neck down, I had no sensation at all. Like I could feel my entire body, feel the pressure of me pressing on my body, but I couldn't feel whether or not my skin was soft, the palms of my hands were soft or not. Like, you know, and my mother had been ill most of my life. So my go-to in my mind was like, anything but that. That was the first thing that came to my mind was like, ain't no way. If I get on my phone and Google, you know, loss of feeling in limbs, and the two things that came up was stroke and multiple sclerosis, and it just went boom in my face, and I was like, no, 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 and I'm like, I literally just sat there like, ain't no way ain't no way, I gotta sit through this again, you know. And long story short, I ended up going to the doctor. I spent the entire year 2017 being poked and prodded, everything under the sun. Every month, I probably spent 10 visits a month that entire year, only to end the year with not knowing what was wrong. And in my mind, in my heart, I knew what it was, but doctors have to do their thing. And I officially got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2018. And my first question was, but you know, I want kids. And he looked me dead in my face and he said, I would advise you to put that dream down, was what he said. And I just kind of looked at him like, I don't think you understand how far I've planned this out, though. Like, you can't just go into my life and delete this piece. Yeah. Like, it's such a monumental piece of my life. Like, who am I now if I can't be a mom? Like, who? And I was with my significant other at that time, and I looked at him, and I wanted to say it out loud, like, so where does this leave us? Or what if this is important to this person? Like, you know, did I just hear that I don't have a relationship simultaneously and we just haven't had the discussion yet? You know, all this emotion flooded my body. And I spent so much time in 2018 in and out of the hospital as well that it ended up bringing a close to my relationship because it was so big. It was so big, and I went from being a regular person, being able to live everyday life, to spending more of my time in the hospital than I did at my full-time job. And of course, you hit this idea in your mind, like, nobody's going to put up with this. Who's going to want to be with somebody that's going through this? When are the doctor's appointments going to stop? And then before you know it, so I had multiple sclerosis. Then the beginning of 2019, all of a sudden I have GERD. Then
what is that?
Later, it's basically a problem with your esophagus. Like if you get acid reflux and you get heartburn on a regular basis, or you have acid reflux so much that your esophagus starts to get damaged. Wow. So when you eat food, it won't stay down. It tries to come back up. And I had gotten put on steroids because my flare-ups from my MS were so traumatic. They wanted to shock my body so it would snap out of the flare-up. So they gave me steroids. The steroids shocked my body even worse, and I developed another condition from it. So I got GERD from that. So I spent so much time feeling like I couldn't breathe. Anytime I would eat something, it felt like I was eating glass. I've never been in so much pain in my life. And then fast forward a little further, next thing you know, I have fibroids. And they're like, you're going to need, do you even want to have kids? And I was just like, looking like, I don't even want to talk about this. At that point, I had already lost my relationship. Now I'm on my second diagnosis, and they're telling me this third thing, you have fibroids. And even if I want to consider having kids, I would have to have surgery first because there isn't enough room in my womb to even surprise you're pregnant, And so it got to this place where I had to have a sit down where my doctors are telling me that you can't just go out into the world and have a baby. You need to let us know first so we can start preparing a year to 2 years in advance. I said, what? I need permission?
Yeah.
It hurts so bad to even think. They're like, you're going to have to go through this. You're going to have to go through this. You're going to have to go through this. You're going to have to start eating like this. And so many life changes. I literally, after that relationship, I took 3 years off of just pursuing relationships just to focus on me because I'm like, I don't even know how to tell someone this. I don't even understand. What would you desire after I tell you that? Yes, I find myself attractive. Yes, I find myself intellectual and all these things, but in my mind, coming from a man, he wants a seed at one point or another. Like, even if he doesn't know it yet, you get to that place when you've spent enough time in relationship. And I couldn't face having to say I couldn't do that for them, like for him or who this person was potentially at that time. And I felt that same sense of brokenness. How can I pursue relationships when I can't even stay out the doctor's office? How can I say I want to build a family when I need to know 2 years in advance? I need to know a year in advance if I want kids or if this person wants kids. What if they don't know right now? What if, all these different things that could potentially cause so much destruction to a relationship. I spent 3 years like, I don't even want to have the discussion about children. My mind couldn't even go there. And it was just a real defeated experience. And then you're going in the middle of that. I messed around and found a lump for the first time. I literally had been through so much that I just broke down crying because I was just kind of like, I just was told I have MS. Now I have GERD. Now I have fibroids. And then I find a lump. What do you want from me? Leave me alone. Like, no more doctors, And I had to go. I had to let them biopsy it and all of that. This whole time I'm waiting for them to tell me it's cancer. Like, that trauma was worse. And
we are so much alike.
So much. And it's such a short.
I experienced that at 12, coming from a party. And I was just always like a health freak. Like, I was always into like holistic healing and everything like that. So I came back from the party and I was just on the, using the bathroom and testing. And I was like, oh, what is this? And, I ran in the room to my mom and I was like, I feel a lump. And she got up and she felt it. And she was like, we just going to call that a cyst. And if your mom is cool, you cool. So I was like, okay, I ain't gonna worry about it if she ain't worried about it.
I know that's right. I wish I would have been that young to even have a conversation with one of my elders or something like that. It was like I was in the middle of so much turmoil. The minute I felt it, I was like, I don't need no more bad news. I was like, I'm at my breaking point. I can't deal with anything else. And going through the biopsy and all of that, and it's just, and then finally it's benign, and I'm just like, who cares if it's benign now? I'm already crazy. Like, like I didn't even feel any relief. Like, you guys have turned me into a nutcase. Who cares if it's benign? Like, I couldn't even say, oh, I'm happy It was just the waiting game, all of that. It just terrorized the mess out of me. And then fast forward, this pain shoots into my abdomen. So I've never felt anything like it. And of course, you know, you have to go get checked out and do all of that. And, you know, when you go get your annual exams, they have their little tool that they got to, you know, put inside of your cervix and crack it. They crank it and you hear the little machine and all of that. And so I've always done those with no problem. When I tell you that lady tried to penetrate me with that thing,
my Lord,
and I felt like it was a knife, not anything smooth. And I started bucking. I kicked that lady and everything. Like, I started screaming. I had never felt so much pain. And come to find out, I had been through so much. And because I hadn't cried and I hadn't thrown a fit and I hadn't let all that energy out of my body, I was clenching my muscles so tight for so long that the muscle going across at the bottom, my pelvic floor was like a hardwood floor. There was no give. So they're trying to press on it and it won't buckle any. And that's where the pain was coming from. So that's my third diagnosis. Interstitial cystitis, which basically feels like if you could have a UTI that never goes away but worse. So imagine that pain when you're going to the bathroom and, you know, like as you're going, the pain increases as you're going. You know what I mean? Imagine that pain just sitting there and not moving. And when you touch it, it increases. So they had me go to physical therapy. I had to do the Kegels and the pelvic floor exercises to loosen those muscles because I was going through so much that even though I wasn't reacting in the externally, on the inside, I was doing this. So I was clenching my thighs together, clenching my arms together, and I didn't even realize I was clenching. Until I had to go through all of those exercises to try and
relax,
get the muscles. So basically I pulled out, like, imagine flexing, you know, flex, your muscle is doing like this. If you clench your muscles and you bring it all the way in, what I had done is I brought in all my muscles around my lower stomach, and it got to a point to where I had held it so long it locked in place and it wouldn't release. So any pressure to get it to flex was the pain.
Oh my God.
So when they tried to, you know, check me out and everything, they were pressing on it, trying to get it to expand, and it didn't want to. So that pain was where that was coming from. So I'm like, I had to go through all of that and then do the Kegels and the pelvic floor exercises where I felt so humiliated because I'm over here like, y'all got me doing badge exercises like, release. Release. And I'm just like, it don't even matter because I still can't have no kids, because I still got fibroids, I still got multiple sclerosis, I still got, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm supposed to be working towards something. And I felt defeated. I felt so defeated and beat up at the same time I'm running forward. Like, just let me get there. Like, why can't I have a baby? Like, I don't understand. So now I have multiple sclerosis that affects my nerves, my ability to remember, my ability to process, my ability to have balance, my ability to experience temperature and touch. You can wash your hands in cold water and look at it, and your brain will tell you the water is hot, and I will visually see my hands turn red, and I know for a fact the water is cold.
Wow.
But I still will have to react like it's hot because I feel and see the redness in my hands and the pain because the nerves are not intercepting the messages correctly.
Wow.
So I've had instances where I've woken up out of my sleep and smelled burning. There's nothing there. Like, my nose can tell me I smell something that doesn't exist because my nerves are that, you know, that's what multiple sclerosis does. If you think about a cord or a power cord going into the wall, you know that the outside casing is just so you can grab it to protect yourself. You know that the actual thing that carries the current of the electricity is inside. It's the same principle with your cells. So your body starts to attack the casing, and now the casing is open, and the cord that is taking the messages back and forth to the brain is now exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exposure that messes with the messages.
Wow.
So that can happen at any time, and it's not consistent. So they call it a snowflake disease, a autoimmune disease. So basically, today I can wake up and feel like the young version of myself that I was 6 years ago, and it can hit 4:30 and I will spend 30 minutes forgetting everything, and then it'll just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And then it won't hit me again for 6 months. Or it can hit me and last for weeks or last for months or last for a year. Like, there is no timetable for the symptoms. They will come and last for as long as they feel like coming to visit and disappear. So you will have 100% A1 memory and be your old self, and then something will happen and it just shifts. And you will spend 2 weeks feeling like an old lady, and then it'll turn back on. Like, all these different symptoms balance. You can go out and run and do all these things, and then tomorrow, just standing up will have your legs shaking and rattling, and you know what I mean? Like, it's so, the unpredictability of it by itself will cause you to be intimidated and say, how are you gonna be a mom when you don't even know who you'll be in 30 minutes?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And and the ways, and I can say that all of this experience has taught me, number one, that I was controlling and I wanted my life to work out the way I wanted it to work out. And my body doing what it does now, I have to go with the flow and not try and make it what I want it to be. Queen, we had an event. You remember the event that Kev had, and we were all there together. At one point, I had to just go sit in the car. And normally that would have made me upset. Like, I want to be proactive with these people. I want to talk. I want to be social. But my body was hot.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I really need to cool down, because if I don't get any cool air on my back, my body, I'll mess around and y'all gonna find me laid out somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to walk around and go, this is what I'm going through. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't have time to get upset about it and start projecting and taking it out on people. I have to say, okay, this is what my body is telling me. This is what I need to do. And I spent that 3 years doing that. But it took so long to get there. Even just from remembering, like, I can talk the way I'm talking to you guys right now, and on a bad day I will talk, and then before you know it, I'll hit like this, and I don't know what you were saying to me. I don't know what I was saying to you. I don't know what topic I don't even know why we on live right now. And I got to figure out how to get out of this whole mess without looking like a whole idiot.
Yeah.
And without panic, And it's like, when it first started, I would be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and the whole thing would just delete. Like, I could blink my eyes and I've been talking to a person for 15 minutes, blink my eyes and open them up, and I'm looking at this person, and what I want to say is, what the hell are you looking at?
Wow.
And I would have reacted that way in the beginning, but then I realized what was happening. So when that stuff happens, I have to go, and I'll have the moment and I'll process it out, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know. I have no idea. I don't even, and so hopefully they'll keep running with it. And before you know it, I'm jumping back into the conversation and they aren't the wiser. But you learn how to work with what's going on with you. And I realized it was my resistance to my symptoms that were exacerbating my symptoms. They were getting so much worse because I was fighting it. Oh no, I got it. I got it. I don't want to be helped. I don't want nobody to know. I hid it from everybody for the first 2 years. I had so many struggles. I didn't even want anybody to know that I was sick. But it wasn't until that I looked at it and told myself, this is your life now.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, but you telling yourself it's not there is what's going to make it harder, because it's going to keep rearing its ugly head and you're going to react like you're surprised by it because you don't want to look at it. But now that I go through it, I spend more of my time trying to help other people understand it, because they're so used to people being in regular circumstances that they don't understand, and they frustrate easily. Like, I'm on my way to the car and I set my keys down on my way to the car, and you could be walking right behind me, and by the time we get to the car, the keys is gone, child. They like, let's you go unlock the car. You just had the keys. Yep, but I don't know where they are. And I will bust out laughing, and they over here with a straight face. This is not funny. I'm like, it has to be though. If I get mad, this is gonna be a whole nother war. It's just, it gets hard, because when you're in these situations, you have days where you feel broken, you feel like a burden to others, you feel like you've taken things from other people. And I'm thankful with watching my mother, because she went through the same struggle, but I never saw her cry, I never saw her complain, I never saw her give her experience permission to run her life. And that's what motivates me, is that if she can go through what I'm going through now, and she had 2 small children to maintain, I can do this. I just have to worry about me. The people I love are grown. I just have to worry about me and get healthy and do the right thing and so on and so forth. But even with that mind state, it's still the most difficult thing you could ever go through. And it's such a defeating experience to know that the biggest challenge you'll ever have in your life is your own body. And it's like, why though? Like, why though? And what was this supposed to teach me? What was it? I genuinely feel like even in those circumstances, there's a lesson in it. And as much as I will tell anybody how much I hate multiple sclerosis, I am the most connected to my spirituality because of it. And I know that to be true, because I was divided between myself, who I wanted to be and who I was raised to be. And I toggle back and forth between those people. But MS was such a monster to conquer. I didn't have any choice but to fuse those 2 people together and accept that I can be both. I don't have to choose between the 2. And it made me stronger. Next thing you know, I had locks and tattoos and a septum ring, and this whole spiritual somebody came out of all of that. Before this, I didn't even look like this. I've changed so much, and it's not the end. Even when you're in the heat of the moment and you're in that doctor's bed, or the first time you fall, the first time you don't remember, the first time you get bad news, you feel like the world is over. And there's no reason to continue to be optimistic and positive, because the thing that matters most is gone. It's not gone. It's just, it's an obstacle. And one thing I learned about the universe is sometimes you end up in these situations because they really need to understand how bad you want it. And sometimes you're just speaking you want a certain thing and not showing you want that certain thing. And I can admit that I did that. I said I wanted kids all my life, but did I ever prepare my body to withstand children? Did I ever work on my diet and all of those things and actively exercise? No, I just assumed I was born with the gift, child. I'm just about to have me some baby. We're about to get this done. But it was my health being at stake that made me go into alternative diet. I went vegan. I started meditating more. I started working on my spirituality, my mental health, my emotional health. I wouldn't have done any of those things had I not become sick. And it's like sometimes, even in the midst of all that chaos and ruckus and darkness and the storm, even if it's hard to see, there's such a tiny little glimmer of light way back there in the far back of the tunnel.
Yeah.
They're just the same. And it's I have those days now where I feel defeated. And once
Mhm.
upon a time that was every single day that
Yeah.
I felt like I couldn't go on. Something had been taken from me and I can't show up in the world the way I want to because
Mhm.
this was taken from me. I had to work back to finding a new me, new happiness, new wants, new perspective. And it's definitely hard, but I feel like once you get to the other side of that, you'll understand why it needed to be fought for,
Yeah.
why there's so much value in it, and we'll appreciate it. You and I will appreciate that bundle so much more. There's
Mhm.
countless women being blessed with kids, and they're on their fifth one, and they don't do right by them, and they're still not doing right by themselves health wise to even live a full life to be here for them. But for us, we have to work for it. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's what's going to make it so special. So
Yeah.
I try my best to focus on that. But
Do you ever get to the point where I guess you feel or people tell you, well, sometimes I feel like, okay, there are things within me that I have to birth first, um, before I can actually birth flesh. And um, like for instance, this project that I'm working on now, there's so much studying that I have to do to get it done. Um,
mm-hmm,
so sometimes I feel like, okay, when I do this one thing, that's gonna be it. You know, like
mm-hmm,
this is what I need. First it was, the music, then it was the book,
mm-hmm.
and then it was the music again, and then it was, the nationality and getting the information out to the people and throwing this event and throwing this event. And if I do all this
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
then I'm gonna be able to give 100%, and then that's when the baby's gonna come. And then you looking back and you're like, okay, it's been another year.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so it's like, how do you deal with like just like I really don't know what to feel. Like I don't know whether to give up. I don't know when
Mm-hmm,
do you feel like you will know that okay, that's really not for me, or um like I still have issues with seeing. I try to celebrate people, but in all
yeah,
honesty, when you see your classmates, having multiple children and everybody around you having
yeah,
like you feel bad. Like you feel like I don't
yeah,
care how much you accomplish in life.
100%.
People say, "Well, you did this. You've been on BT. You've been here,"
Yes.
and it's like, but I'm a failure. Like I guess as a woman, and I know that we shouldn't put so much on that, but like you said, that was my dream. My dream was to be a mom and to be an artist,
Yes.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have that. I've
Yeah.
been a stepmother, I've helped raise a lot of children,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't feel good when those children get ripped from you. You know what I'm saying? It
Yes.
doesn't feel,
Yes.
so it's like you said, you go back to that question of why. Like, why do I
Yeah.
have to experience? Am I supposed to be a stepmom? Like, are you? Is that what
Right.
people are trying to tell
Well,
you?
see, I was actually gonna say something to that same effect. Is I know for me, I went through this phase of during that 3 year, I guess hiatus, if you want to call it that, is I made my peace with the idea that there are so many other ways to be a mom. And I told myself that as much as I wanted to carry and conceive and go this specific route, I had to look in the mirror and tell myself, I'm a mother in spirit. I'm a nurturer by nature, and I love to teach. I said, perhaps it's completely possible that maybe I wasn't meant to carry
Mm,
because there are people here that need that nurturing mother in their life that are already here.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted the fact that it's possible I will find the love of my life and already has children.
Mm-hmm.
And because he does, um, they will need a component from me that I need to be free to give. And if I had my own children, they would be my focus. So I started thinking about who I am as a woman. Like, I know for a fact, for example, what if I was meant to be a well sought after life coach and travel the world and be a speaker, right? I know the type of devotion I have as a mother, I would put it down.
Exactly.
I don't want to miss a thing. I
Mm-hmm.
need every step. My child is not going to say I missed a thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I said, if I had a child right now, whatever I'm going after, I will give it up
Yeah.
because this is now the most important entity in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say to myself, what if you're speaking from the universe view, what if that wasn't what I was supposed to do? And if the universe is trying to get me to do something or take me in a particular direction and that's known about me, I can't have it because I will stop teaching. I will stop doing. I will stop creating. I will put all my energy into my baby. And there's something I'm supposed to get out of me. There's somebody that's supposed to receive what I have in me to take it the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about it that way, I think about it like Kev likes to say it in due time. So I know because I have this heart, there's someone that is supposed to look at me as a mom.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's in my womb, creation or not, I have no idea. But I know that if I care about anything that much, everything else will fall by the wayside. What if my teaching is supposed to take precedence? That's my purpose. That's my end all be all. Some women are supposed to create that child because what they're going to do is going to change the world. They have to manifest that baby. But if I'm the person I am, and that baby will absorb all of my love, all of my teaching, all my care, so much so that it will take away from who I'm supposed to pass the baton to. What if my seed is not meant to do anything but be?
Mm.
And I'm supposed to give this to someone, this part of me to someone. If I stop teaching, that never manifests itself. What if I'm supposed to meet this king who already has his children, but there's something he cannot bring to these children that comes inside of me? They will never receive that if I never make it there because I've already had children because my focus is there.
Yeah.
You know, so I think about all these different things. I try to look at my life from a perspective of what if the universe was a person and this was their scheme and this is what they're plotting on me
I don't
and
like.
this needs to happen. And I don't either. I'm not gonna lie, I did the same thing with multiple sclerosis because I broke down into a depression, the whole 9 yards. Like, you're trying to take my life from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had so many talks with myself. And then I got to this place and I'm in my house and I'm talking to myself. And I said, you know what, Lacey? If the universe came to you and said, look, your mom had multiple sclerosis. Between you and your brother, one of y'all are about to carry this next. Who's it gonna be?
You would have
I would
took
have
it.
been like, you touch my brother, I'll break your fingers.
Listen. Like,
Period.
you about like I'm about to cry right now because I remember, and the universe brought it back to my remembrance as a kid. Like, I prayed and I would pray and I would pray and I would pray.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, one of my prayers is that, like, God protect my family, God protect my mom, protect, like, I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And I was like, if there is any sickness,
Yes.
put it on me.
Give it to me. Yes.
And it's like,
Facts.
I promise, like, I was riding down the road. Like, the water is coming because I prayed that
I
prayer.
see it.
No, I
But
prayed
I'm
that
so
prayer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said, like,
yes.
put that on me. And it was like, the universe brought it back to my remembrance. I was like, well, God, like, how long though? Like
Yes.
how long am I supposed to be sick? And I know my family would say the same thing. Like, we didn't ask you, like, we would never ask you to do that, but
Yes.
that was just me interceding on their
Yes.
behalf. Like,
Yes.
like I love hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and I'm the same way. And then that's
Yes.
what put me in a place to be able to accept this, was because I was like, what if the universe is plotting on me? What if the universe came to me and was like, Lacey, listen, your mother's gonna pass this down. She only has 2 kids. Who's going to get it? I said I would fight the universe and say, I wish you would touch my baby brother. You give it to me. You know what I mean? So then I thought about it from a different perspective. My mother taught me to be a nurturer. She told me how to process that mothering spirit. So I have a tendency to put other people before myself. I said, what if the universe has been messing with me all these last 15, 20 years? Like, I just want this woman to think about what she wants for once. Because if she thinks about what she wants, then she will start teaching and she will get out here and do this and everybody will know her name. But she keep on factoring what everybody else wants. Yeah. So I went through all these different trials and tribulations and I couldn't understand why until I made it here and all these doors just start opening up. I said, oh, so now you want to just get out my way and roll out the red carpet. you know, and then I thought about it even from that perspective, and just to say, like, Lacey, if I'm looking at Lacey right now and watching her maneuver through her life, and she's putting everything on the line for her brother and putting everything on the line for her mama, and her purpose is to teach, her purpose is to go in this direction. She over here trying to be a daggone cosmetologist. Tell you what, the school shut down. Yes. Her whole extra determined self gonna go find another school to enroll in. So now I gotta pull that school from her. Then she gonna go enroll in another one. So I had to cause her car to break down. She gonna go finish again and still go get her license. Then go back for her barber's license and start working in the field. So I tell you what, I caused a sprain in her back. She can't even do hair no more because she's so stubborn. And I finally was like, I don't even want to do hair no more. It kept crashing and I couldn't understand why. The whole time people were coming up to me, you so well spoken. You ever thought about motivational speaking? You ever thought about being a teacher? I'm looking like, why would I do that? I'm trying to make money, child. I ain't got time to do all that. Do that for what? And then I thought about it. Universe gets upset with me and says, I have taken 3 schools from her. I've caused her car to break down. I done made this broad homeless and made her sleep in her car. And this fool still thinks she know everything about every daggone thing. So I said, what could I do to her to make her focus on what she needs more than any other thing on this earth? What does she fear more than any other thing? And I answered that for myself. I said, ending up like my mama. Ta-da! Multiple sclerosis. And that was what turned over a whole new leaf for me. Next thing you know, people need stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Sound like a personal problem. I got things to do. I got to run today. I am vegan. You hear me? And it's going to change my whole world. So I was thinking about it from that perspective. Like, if the universe is trying to get me to see something and pay attention to something and understand something, if I was looking at myself and I knew you were supposed to end up here, but you're not listening, eventually what I'm going to put you through is going to be painful if you hard-headed. I was that 100%. So as mad as I was about the condition, I had to understand that I would have never put myself first had I not have ended up here. And that's what I needed to do, was investigate myself. What does Lacey want? What makes her happy? The idea of purpose never occurred to me because everybody else's needs was more important than mine. It wasn't until I got sick that I became valuable to me. And it's the same thing with kids. With kids is I desperately want children, but I also know myself, the loyalty that I have to my family is unshakable. And so if I have children there, I will go back to who I was before, putting my child first and making sure everything else fall by the wayside. What if I'm not meant to do that? What if there's a man who has children that need something from me? What if something happens to somebody that I love and all that's left from the accident is their children? And I needed a home that was void of children to be able to say, I'll take them
Mm-hmm.
because that's my heart. And those kids are coming. You know what I mean? Because I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I would jump in. If anything happened to my brother, I would say, y'all not giving them to, they're mine.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them are coming home with me.
Mm-hmm.
I would think I would move slower if I had my own children, because now I know that's in addition to, that's more, you
Yeah.
know? But if I was just a single woman, or if I was married and didn't have children and something happened like that, I would be at the court. Like, I'm taking full custody of all of them. What
Mm-hmm.
if that's how I become a mother? So these different things I had to allow myself to be open to, because in my mind, I was so hell bent on the only way I can be a mother is if I conceive and I give birth. And that was why I told myself, this is the only way you can become mommy. That wasn't accurate. That wasn't the truth. And when I started being more open, someone like Kevin comes into my life, and I said, ideally, I want 4 children. He has 3. If I
Mm-hmm.
have just that one, I am a mom of 4.
Wow.
And so I think about those things, and it's hilarious to me. There's actually this cute little animation that I posted up maybe a year before I met Kevin, and it's him laying in it's a guy laying in the bed, her laying in the bed, she's pregnant. There's 2 boys and a girl laying in the bed, and they're all just like happy family. So when Kevin and I hooked up, I showed him this. I said, tell me this isn't crazy. That
Mm-hmm.
you're in the picture, there's your 2 boys, there's Janae, and she's pregnant with the 4th one. And I literally put that on my page saying, this is gonna be my life, yo.
Wow.
So it's like I see those things and I find happiness in them, because even though they're so small and they're silly, I see possibilities where I didn't allow myself to say, this could happen and I can still be happy. And I think I needed that so I can experience that peace. And I think when I genuinely get there from head to toe,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I'm content with my life and I don't need anything else, I'm gonna end up pregnant. And I'm gonna be like, ooh. And that's when it's gonna hit me. When I stop thinking something's wrong with me, when I stop thinking there's no other way to become a mother, all these blockages I'm providing for myself, when I get over them, my body is going to relax. My body is going to start to radiate as if it's just ready to do its thing. And I'm going to get surprised about my own pregnancy, and I'm not even going to see it coming. And I've always wanted to be a woman who planned out my pregnancy.
Me too.
And I feel like I feel like the reason why it can't happen that way is because my lesson is to let go of control.
And it's crazy that you said that, because that's one of the things I talked about when me and Kev went live. Was that's how I started freeforming, to try
Mm-hmm.
to not be in control of something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's how we are taught. Like, it's how we're
Yes.
brought up. We're taught to plan.
Yes.
We're taught to do these different things, and then you realize that in your regular life, it messes you up.
Yes.
Like,
It does.
you really have to unlearn, everything that you were taught. And okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that's the frustrating part, which goes back to, okay, I'm gonna let it come.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just
I'm trying.
remember to breathe. Don't hold your breath. Because I'm like,
Yeah,
so many women start crying and they start trying to talk and hold their breath. I'm like, you gonna make it worse. It's gonna knock the door
let it
down
come
if you
out.
keep playing.
Yeah, it's just a matter of learning to let go and let the universe do what it's gonna do.
Yes.
Um, but then you're taught to faith without works is dead. Like, I have to do
Yes.
something. So I guess the issue comes in is like, how do I know when I am letting go enough to let the universe do what it's supposed to do? To Am I not being proactive? Like, that's the part that I guess is confusing to me.
I feel the answer to that question is when it stops haunting your mind. Because when you're worried about it, you play it over and over and over, even though you're consistently being positive and you're producing and you're creating and you're existing in your relationship and you're being healthy, you have this silent thing on replay.
Mm-hmm.
And every time you play that record over, even though you know you're showing up, there's a piece of you that is not showing up because it's paying attention to the record. And I feel like the minute you stop playing it and press stop on it and not allow it to play anymore, now you are 100% in your being.
Yeah.
And it's extremely hard to do right now for me. I don't play the disc anymore, but there are moments like sometimes I pick up Mayana and just watch her, and she lets out this beautiful smile, and there's something that melts in me, and my mind goes, oh, please just let me be able to do this. Just one,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the minute I allow myself to go there, I will sulk for
Yeah, you go.
hours.
Yes.
So I have to affirm. So when I spend time with her and I know she creates that inside of me, I spend time with her and I say, you're growing up before my eyes. I enjoy watching you grow. You're so beautiful. You're so, and I tell myself that she's experiencing me. I'm here for her. Hopefully this comes out the right way, but out of everybody in the Rise family, to me, she is the purest of heart because she has not seen what typical relationships are supposed to look like. She is so genuine with me. She doesn't know if I'm supposed to or not supposed to be here. And so when I spend time with her, I try and remind myself to go ahead and enjoy her because I'm in my mind trying to make it something else. So I say, she just knows I love her. She just knows I have good snacks. She just knows we have a good time when we're together. She's not thinking, oh, this person shouldn't be married to this person, and this isn't how a family dynamic should look, and all these other things. So I sink into that with her because if I don't, by the time she leaves me and her mom comes to get her, I'm just kind of like, I won't have that. Or I go into this sad place, And it's just kind of, to me, that's the answer. Not letting the record play.
I had my mic muted because noise
Oh
was
no,
in the
you're fine. I'm glad it was you because I was gonna say I didn't lose her, did I?
back. I was just I was trying to give the signal behind me.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah.
But yeah,
That's
I definitely think it's not allowing the record to play because I mean, and it's like a manifestation. Like when you focus all your energy on something, you have to give it 100% of you. If even 1% is like, well, I don't really think, it's not coming. It's not coming at all. So if you are wanting a baby, if you're going to give 100% to something, give 100% to something else, not the creation of this life, but say, I'm going to give 100% to locking in this diet. I'm going to give 100% into creating this music because I want this, the revenue I generate from this to finance my something, you know what I mean? And put 100% into that and allow that to be your fuel. But for us, we want this particular thing so bad that even though you are creating and putting pieces of you in these places, something happens. Your thoughts are consumed by the thing you value the most. And that means that your creation, your teachings, all of these things are not getting 100% of you. So you're not delivering or manifesting what you're trying to create. So are you bringing yourself closer to this child if you are giving 50% to your music and giving 25% to your relationship and this percent over here. And then you got this 5% that's like, I'm never going to be able to, and I'm falling short and all this stuff. You're split, you're stretched thin. Where does a baby come from that? You don't have room. You got to make room. So give 100% of you to making room. What does room look like for you? Do you want to create your music and get it to a point to where you can choose when you want to create music because you put so much out there, it's generating enough revenue for you to not feel pressured to create music? Same thing with teaching, because you know what kind of mother you want to be. Start building your nest. You know how available you want to be for your child. Make yourself available. Put all these things in place so when they're creating the way they need to be created and this baby comes into your life, you've already built your nest the way you want it, so you can focus on this child the way you want to be and show up as a mother the way you want to show up, because you've done your healing work, you've done your shadow work, your money's coming in, your relationship's healthy, y'all have done counseling, you've been eating good, your body feels good, everything is good, the nest is ready. But a lot of times we're asking for stuff and we're not ready to receive it, and we don't understand why it's not coming. And it's the same thing with relationships. Is we're like, oh, I want my dream husband. You ain't even worked through your daddy issues yet, and you want a whole husband. Say, don't focus on not getting the husband and when is he coming. Say, I am going to prepare for my husband because I need to clean this up. I need to sweep that up. I need to move this couch over here. I need to decorate this. When your house gets laid out the way you want it, all of a sudden you get somebody rings your doorbell.
Yeah.
Now you got company. People want to come over because your house is straight. You know what I mean? And I feel like the same thing is true when it comes to manifestation as well. I mean, manifestation and creation go hand in hand with each other. I feel like in order for you to be ready for it to come, you got to ease the stress in your mind and put yourself in a place where you know it's coming. And it's funny, well, ironic, should I say, because I want to say I kind of met Kev in the same way, because during that 3 years, I was working on me for so much and for so long, and I was a fan of his work, but I had stopped watching videos for some time, and he just kind of popped up on my Facebook. And I remember the minute I saw the photo, I was just like, I told a friend of mine, I said, I don't know what's supposed to happen in my life with that man, but I know that I don't need to be in any relationship when I meet him. I don't know where he's taking me. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what he has for me, but I need to cross paths with that person and receive whatever it is he had to give. And I didn't know what, I just know I was drawn to this person. And if I would have said that's gonna be my husband and I probably wouldn't have never met him. Because I had already planned how I wanted it to look. So anything less than that, I would have screwed up. But because I said to myself, I don't care if it's a friendship, I don't care if he's a mentor, I don't care if it's romantic, I'm not going to project. I know what he's supposed to be for me. All I know is one day me and him will be in the same room, and it's going to be powerful, yo. And I know I want everything he has to give me. And when I finally met him, something else happened. But I knew, I knew it was something magical. I knew it was something powerful, but I feel like that's when we make mistakes, is that's supposed to look like something. This is supposed to be something. This is supposed to, like you said, how we're taught that we need to plan. You're already planning how you gonna marry this man, and y'all on your first date. What's wrong with you? And then when it goes left, it's because you're handling the date like a marriage. You're supposed to be enjoying him. And you're not. You're ruining it. And perhaps we're doing the same thing with wanting children and wanting to control how it comes about. We're getting in our own way. So because of all the other lessons I learned with my condition and everything, I try and tell myself that the best lesson that I learned out of that whole journey was, as much as I say I know what my type is and what I want in this life, I learned I can be wrong. I learned that the universe may know a thing or two about me more than I do. So sometimes Lacey need to have several seats because you don't know what you're talking about. And it makes me angry because I would like to think I know exactly everything about everything.
Yeah.
But that's what I learned, is that I thought I can get through all of my life being controlling. Not even. I thought I could get through my entire life putting other people first and feeling like their happiness would create happiness within me. And I didn't need to search for what I needed. I was wrong. You
Yeah.
know, so if those things are possible and those are the most pivotal moments in my life, is it possible that I laid out how I would get married, how I would have a child, how I would do all of these things, and how it comes into play? The imagery is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's possible, I need to stop trying to drive
Mm.
and just sit in the passenger seat. And I'll know when I get there, because you're gonna feel it. And you're in tune, you're intuitive, and feel the room out. Something is going to occur that's just for you, Queen.
Mm-hmm.
That's not for no other woman in that room. And when it washes over you, you're gonna, the first thought that comes to your mind is gonna be, it's now. And you
Mm.
just gonna feel all warm and fuzzy about it, because ain't nobody gonna know what that feeling was for you, and you gonna feel it and just say, this is my moment. And it's not about music, it's not about nothing more than my baby coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's gonna feel like something light. I genuinely feel like we ruin our experience by trying to drive.
Mm.
And we are a part of the experience, we're a part of the journey, but we were never meant to drive. We were meant to have the experiences and create ourselves while we're experiencing. But we want to drive, we want to lay out all the details, and she need to look like this, he need to look like that, and I want they shoes got to be recent, they can't be OJ's, they got to be the new J's. You can't wear this kind of chain. You got to be 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
What if your man is 5'3", baby? Your man is just
Hey.
5'3". You've been chasing these 6 footers for the longest, and that is not your husband.
It ain't
It's just
for
not.
you, yeah.
I'm like, and that's why you're not married yet, because you're still looking at
Mhm.
these men way up here, and your husband can look you straight in your eye.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. And as crazy as it sounds, for me, mine wasn't a man.
Right. See?
You know,
Look.
like, and when I think about it, like how my first marriage played out, that was on me. You know, it goes back to, like you said, what was your fear? Your fear was you didn't want to be like your mom.
Mm-hmm.
My fear was, I remember, I wish I knew the name of the movie. I remember my parents went to Myrtle Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my aunt Sheila babysitting us. I remember my cousin Shanice staying with us during that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Right.
Um, in the movie, the girl had an ectopic pregnancy. They never said
Really?
it was an ectopic pregnancy. What happened was she got pregnant. She told her boyfriend. The boyfriend paid for her to have an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
She did the procedure to have the abortion. Then she went and hemorrhaged. A couple days later, she was hemorrhaging in the bathroom, and that she had ectopic pregnancy. I remember at that moment thinking, like, I hope that never happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have been no more than 12, if that.
Right.
And years later, it happened to me.
Did
And
you
then
think of it when you first were made aware? Did you think of that moment when you
yes,
were
I did.
told? You did?
I did. And I was very frustrated. I remember after the first time I was real heavy in church, I remember cursing God. I remember saying, like, you do this to me, like after I tall and tarry, and I did everything right, like I
Yes.
dated, I got married, I wasn't out here partying, I wasn't, I did what I was supposed to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know. You let the one thing that I prayed not to happen to me twice, you know.
Yes.
And as I got into spirituality, I learned that fear and love are the highest frequencies. So even though that was something that I saw, it was planted in me, and I called it to me unconsciously. You know, so with the type of society that we're in, they instill fear. You know,
Yes.
especially like right now, they make you fearful. You know, so you sit back and you're like, okay, with the everything that's going on, it's like, okay, God, do I want a child right now? Anyway, with what they're trying to do with the vaccines and all,
That's
like,
a thing too.
yeah. So it's
That's a
like,
big
I
thing
don't
too.
want to have to deal with that, you know.
Yes.
But it's like at the same time, why can't I just decide when it happens?
Exactly. Why can't I say yes
Like,
or no myself with
yeah.
nobody else's opinion in it?
Mhm.
100%. And I definitely agree. It's there's nothing like it. And even there was a point when you said, gosh, I think I just lost it. I think I lost it. It's gone.
Yeah.
I'll be trying to tell y'all, listen, I don't
Yeah.
get in my feelings about none of that. Even though I know it's me, I just be like,
Yeah.
it's all good. We're gonna
And
run with it.
I ain't got it in mine goes too.
Right.
But even with me having endometriosis, you know, like, and having to go through menstruation, you know, like, it's diagnosed that it feels like I'm having contractions every time my cycle is on. So it's literally
Really?
I'm giving birth every time my cycle is on. So that's frustrating to me. Like every time, every
Yes.
you try, it's like I plan to get sick every month. You know, you gotta have this. I gotta have my heating pad. I gotta have my leave. I gotta have certain, like, I literally plan around this day. I know my mind has to be right. You know, because I get into this depressed state. So when I
Yeah.
find myself going that way, like I was telling I tell my wife and my mom, I was just telling my mom that, like, it's like a flower. I could feel my flower going like this. And I would say about the fourth day, I could feel my vitality, like I could feel myself coming back alive. And then I'll
Right.
have days where I just work and I try to get everything done because I know once that time comes, I can't focus. You know,
Yeah.
my brain is foggy, I'm discombobulated, and I'm in pain. And I remember
Yes.
having that because I was when I had my niece down here, I kind of like took care of my niece until my sister moved back. So I had her at 10, and that kind of like helped me cope with my loss because I could
Yeah.
pour all my love into her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to still move around and play a lot. You know, I'm younger for one, and two, I was still coming off of like that birth control, so I wasn't having the pain. You know,
Right.
um, but as you know, time progressed, and that birth control is completely out of my system because I got on birth control because the pain was so bad as a kid.
Yes.
So I remember it would break my heart because I couldn't play with her like I used to. And she
I
said,
know that feeling.
yeah, she's
I
like,
definitely know that feeling.
TT, you're always in the bed, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the sucky part about growing up as well, because every vacation my cycle on, so I'm miserable, you know, because it wasn't
Yes.
like in my nobody in my house had to suffer, you know. Is three, I have two sisters and my mom, they didn't suffer with that, they didn't
Yeah.
have that type of pain, so they didn't understand it, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I had to suffer with that every vacation, you know, every celebration. And so I learned how to be emotionless,
Yes.
you know, because
Yes.
if I get too excited, you're bleeding, you know.
Yes.
So it's like
Mm-hmm.
learn to be cool, calm, and collected. And some people that comes off as, oh, she thinks she all of that. Oh, she think, you know, and it's like, no, like I've literally had fire in the ceiling and my body does not, inside I might be like, ah! You know,
Yes.
my body just moves. Oh, okay. And I literally beat a fire down. And when I laid down, I was like, oh my gosh. Like I just fought a fire. Like
Yes.
I've been in where I've seen accidents happen and I cannot react because
I'm
of
the
how
same way.
you
I'm the
learn to.
same exact way. I
And it's so
promise.
sad because I find myself in a place where I'm trying to be more soft.
Mm-hmm.
And
we got a lot of talking to do, Queen. I'm just gonna tell you that now. If you
yeah,
not
because
telling
I
my
had this
story
guy.
right now.
Yeah, this guy came and it really bothered me because he was like, I'm so sick of masculine women,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I'm like, I know, I know, you know, like
Yes.
I'm tough. I'm a little rough around the edges. I've always
Yes.
been like tomboyish, but as I got older, it's like life makes you hard, you
Yes.
know? And it's like, dog, you're judging me off of my appearance.
Yes.
You know, I thought I put on some lipstick. Gosh, like
I know
put on
that's
some
right.
lashes.
Eyeshadow.
You know, I'm trying to be
Facts.
soft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I said with life, and then when you can't like the only man that I can depend on is my father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because of what society has given
Mm-hmm.
so far. You know, a cab
Yeah.
a cab come every once in a lifetime might
Yeah.
might be for
Yes.
the whole
Yes.
for the whole world. You know,
Yes.
that might be, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Like so it's like it's hard to be it's hard to be soft
Mm-hmm.
if that man is not, doesn't bring it out.
I
It
agree.
doesn't.
I agree 100%. I mean, I honestly feel like it's if you haven't been marinated and bathed in it in your upbringing, that's a prerequisite for her to be able to do so, is introducing her to something that she hasn't been exposed to. And I know for myself, I've said on I don't know how many lives, I said there's a lot of men that talk about women need to find good men and this and that and the other. And I said, you guys think that you are the majority, and you're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the liars and the cheaters and the manipulator that outnumber y'all. So it's
Yes.
like you think that women should be able to decipher a good guy from a bad guy, but most of these women out here don't even know that to be true from their own father,
Mm-hmm.
let alone their dating experiences going out into the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
I say that to Kev all the time, because I tell him when I first met him, that was one of the first things that I said to him was, before knowing you, men couldn't be trusted in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was only the fact that I knew that they were out there and they existed somewhere that even allowed me to have a little bit of that femininity left, because I didn't give up. The
Mm-hmm.
ones that told themselves men ain't this and men ain't that, they've chalked it up as a loss. They are 100% masculine. They don't
Mm-hmm.
even want to give you a shot in showing them something. I want to melt. I want to become softer. But even with that want, my body has been doing this naturally for so long that I find my body resisting for me. Just
Yes.
from just saying, Lacey, oh no, you're uncomfortable. You don't want none of this. You don't want you back up. And my mind is like, but I need to do this.
Yes.
I need to do something different and change into a new form of myself. But I think that it's also a stigma too, is because we talk about men and say that they lack being able to show up in a manly way because they didn't have that leadership. And I say, you guys talk about it as if the men only abandoned their sons. They abandon their daughters too. So if you lack that representation, how do we know what we should be looking for if he wasn't there for us either? You're making it sound like we could have made a better decision, like daddy disappeared because he didn't want to show up for you, but he came back for his second child because it was a girl.
Yeah.
Like we went with that absence as well. We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure it out too. So if you don't respect that and understand that a woman being masculine is her being a product of her environment more than her deciding to be so, you would handle it differently.
Yes.
But men genuinely think that women chose to be masculine. And
Yes.
that's where the misunderstanding is. I ended up here. I didn't want this. I was a
Yeah.
softie once upon a time.
Once
I
upon
don't
a
know where
time.
she went, but
Once upon a time.
but life teaches you that when you cry, don't nobody care. When you ask for help, you don't need help. You better figure it out. And once you hear that so many times, you stop yearning for that to show up for you. That's how a person can be less affectionate. If they haven't been exposed to affection and they've been yearning for it and keep getting pushed off, like, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. Eventually, the person is going to stop walking up trying to get a hug. But fast forward when she becomes a grown woman and she meets an affectionate man, the first time he wrapped his arms around her, she like, don't touch me. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Even though she's been seeking it out since she was 10 years old, she don't realize she turned it off back then too. And she's been navigating since then, not looking for it. She don't even realize she gave it up until this man try and hug her and she see her own discomfort. She like, I've been trying to get somebody to wrap their arms around me for 30 years. And now this man hugged me and my first response is this hot, don't touch me. You don't understand yourself. And you get upset at yourself, like, why am I responding to such a good thing in a negative way? And you don't realize you literally, whether it be 50% of yourself or 5% of yourself, that part of yourself has been in survival mode and has adapted in a way to protect you from the rejection of going after what you wanted more than anything. And what hurts is that you could actually develop this protection and it make you a beautiful person, and people will still judge you based off of it and tell you who you came out on the other side of all of this chaos to be is a bad thing. No man will ever want you because you're acting like this. I'm like, do you understand the hurdles? Some of these women have been, domestically, abused, molested, all these different things. And you get to look at her and say, you're too tough.
Yeah.
She's here. She's breathing. I don't think you understand how hard that was. And then let her still be a good spirit and still be polite and still be nice and she can still laugh. Some of these women that gave it up, they just terrible everywhere they go because they couldn't salvage even a smidge of their femininity and all of that ruckus.
Yeah.
So it's like if you've managed to salvage some of it, you still shamed like you gave it all up.
And
It's
that's the crazy part about it, because I remember, like, I remember being like, I think we were driving and to take my son to school one day, or we were at somewhere. We were at the mall. I think it was the mall, and I saw the girls, and you could really see. Like, I remember being that way by how they stand, by how they are walking and holding. Like, I remember trying to be pretty and trying to be this person, and then it's like you get to a point of, I went through the growing up. I went through the transformation of, okay, I'm not wearing no nails and I'm not wearing no eyelashes and I'm gonna let my hair go. So I have to love myself, and I had look a mess, because when your afro is standing up and then it start locking and it's standing up, you look crazy, And I look fool, so it's like you go through that and it's like I accept myself, looking like how I'm looking. And then now we're here and it's like, okay, I look better, but I'm not. I'm still a little rough,
Yes.
So it's like today was the first time I was like, okay, let's see if I remember how to fix the lashes a little bit, and fix, because you have to go through. I went through the unlearn phase of, okay, let's just be natural and not do anything. So it's like, okay, we're here, and now I learned to accept myself naturally, and now it's like, okay, I look all right natural, but I want to be a little bit prettier, So he's trying to work with that, and then it's like, okay, it's just sad that we still get ridiculed by the men on the outside. Like, you don't know, out of everything that you could have said, and he commented on like a rap video, and in my rap demeanor, you're not going to get a soft side, because like, I'm a teacher at heart, so I want you to get what I'm saying. And you just turn into a different person, so you're commenting on, you forget and skip over all the positivity that I said, and you look at the package, and then you tell me you know.
Crazy enough, Queen, you wouldn't even believe me, but I've been a tomboy almost all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Me looking like this came about because I was in high school. I was transitioning from junior high to high school, and I had every intention of taking every little bit of my tomboy self to high school and enjoying my being. I loved being a tomboy.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to wear jeans, have my little matching Jordans, these big old hoop earrings.
Oh
I used to have
yeah.
my little hoodies. I had the cutest outfits. I'm telling you, Queen. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you wouldn't even probably recognize me. And my father actually sits me down and he says, "You know, you're never going to get a boyfriend that way." And I said, "What way? You know, like you should try dressing, more like a girl, because the boys are gonna consider you a kid brother over a companion." And my best friend was a boy at the time, and I remember going to him and asking him, like, "Anthony, would you ever like talk to me? Talk to me?" And he literally busts out laughing, and he goes, we cool, but you more like my kid brother." Oh, I was done. I was like, let me nail polish. So I revamped I tweezed my eyebrows for the first time, all of that, and I showed up first day of school looking like a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is the minute I made that change, my whole world changed, because all of a sudden girls saw me as competition. The rumors started, the gossip started. I was still a completely innocent, not interested in boys girl, but other girls realize all of a sudden that I'm pretty. So they like the boy and the boy likes Lacey. So I hate Lacey. All this chaos came from that. I spent 4 years in high school crying to my dad, "You made me do this, and all I want to do is go back to where I was. I want to be invisible again." Like, I hate. It's weird because, and it sounds, and you understand because you're kind of like on the line. Like, you're beautiful, but because you have that style.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you embrace, showing off all your curviness and all of that, and you have a beautiful face and all of that, then all of a sudden the competition and people trying to throw you under the bus. I wanted to go back to being a tomboy because I told my father, I said, being pretty is not that fun. Like, people are nasty. People are nasty. I told him straight up, like, I wanted to go back to that life. So it's like, now people say, "You're so pretty." I tell Kev that's probably one of the biggest insults to me, because I feel like they put my look ahead of my brain. And if I would have continued to be a tomboy, they would have heard my intellect instead of using my aesthetics to feel like that's the ultimate compliment to give, instead of saying, "I learned something from you." People tell you you're beautiful, and that's supposed to be a massive takeaway from me. And it annoys me. Like, I tell him all the time, like, people are always like, "Oh my God," and she's bad and this and that. And I just kind of look like, how do you watch a whole video and then come out with, "Oh, she's bad"? And I'm just like,
as your
I
other
hate it.
as your opposite sister, I can tell you it don't matter. Like, they
And it probably does.
they still gonna, whether they say you're beautiful or they just gonna miss the mark. Like, if it's for them, they're gonna they it don't matter. It don't matter what you do, somebody's gonna find like fault with it, or
Yes, that I definitely
override the
know.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely know that to be true. I guess because society creates this stigma that says if you look a certain way, you don't have certain experiences. Like, I get a lot of women in my inbox, like, they've been cheated on or they've had these negative experiences, and they go, "But you're beautiful. You wouldn't know anything about that." And I'm like, and that's what makes me kind of hate the experience so much, is because so many people in the world think because you look a certain way that you're entitled to privilege and goodness as a result. I'm like, dude, I've struggled. I've had way beyond more than my fair share of struggle and trial and tribulation. And people genuinely feel like I'm not qualified to teach because my face suggests that I couldn't have possibly have gone through anything and I don't know anything about anything. And it's just like, how do you
That's
take
what made
somebody's
me stay
aesthetics and
taught.
then disregard them?
Yeah. That's what made me start. Like, I always told people, like, I don't want to, don't. even when I'm in the booth, like, don't make my voice brighter. I want it to sound harsh.
Yeah.
I want to
Yes.
look, if I, and I went through the phase of like, oh, I wish I looked a little softer. But if I did, you wouldn't receive me how you receive me. I have to look a little stern
Exactly.
for you to accept what I'm saying, because you would look at me and be like, she faking, she lying. Like, if I,
Exactly.
a lot of people, I get a lot of respect because people really don't know how to take me.
Yes.
you know so, but because we're talking about like the healing, that's something that I do want to get back into. Like, I do want to
Mm-hmm.
be more sensual. I love my demeanor. I love my style because this is who I am. Like, I've been this way from as a little kid. I went through that phase too of trying to put on the tight pants and stuff in school and everything. And when I met my ex-husband, I was in basketball shorts and a tank top in the club, swinging my hair.
Yeah.
That's how he met me. And he tried to change me too. Like, oh, maybe put on stilettos, and I can't walk in that. Like, I can try, but I'm gonna be uncomfortable. Like, I'm
Definitely.
who I am. Like, every now and then, I like to switch it up or whatever, but I do want to just be able to be a woman.
Yes.
And I guess that goes
100%.
back to feeling bad with the baby situation, because it's like I feel so tough, and like, I don't want to be tough. I want to be soft, but it's like we are put
Yeah.
in situations where we have no choice but to be hard.
I
Like,
agree.
I
I
came from where my
definitely agree.
father was there. My father was there, and my father is very affectionate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he had all girls. So we had
Mm.
to be out there. If he called us to move a van or whatever the case might be, and I ain't about to do it, but we learned how to move and use your muscles. And I'm not sad about that,
Yes.
but I guess the reason for this live is so that women like us know, and you already know that you're not the only one, but it does help to see and to hear other people's experiences,
Definitely.
and to just show men, um be more compassionate, like,
Yes.
just be more compassionate. Like you said, you don't know what that woman went through to make her seem a
Yes.
little tough or a little hard, or what we're
Yes.
going through. I'm trying to get a message across, and instead of, even if you tell me I'm pretty, compliment the message first and then end it with beautiful you
Yes.
know
Exactly. Exactly. And I agree 100%. And it's we have to get more open as women too, though, because
Mhm.
we hide our struggles from each other because we're in competition with each other, or we've been raised to be competitive with each other. Even
Yeah.
when it comes to getting proposed to, you want to say, I said yes, but you don't want to tell your sister how many times y'all went to therapy together and what y'all had to work through to build a foundation that was worth saying yes to.
Mhm.
We like to we talk more about the nonsense than we do the real work that goes into it. And it's kind of sad because our parents only raise us so far, and then the environment raises us. And if
Mhm.
the environment does not have more knowledge to give, then we go without. I know for me, my mother was sick all of my life. My father worked most of my, worked
Yeah.
days at a time. So I raised myself in a lot of ways. And then I was a big sister to a younger brother. So I was a mom early
Mhm.
too. So it's like, by the time I started my first cycle and all of that stuff, my mother wasn't there for that. My father was just kind of like, figure it out. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I needed to do, and he didn't know how I needed to be soothed or what to explain to me what's going on with my body and that kind of thing. So when you're missing that many tools, you either find a substitute or you just feel like you don't need it and you keep it moving. It's heartbreaking to get to the love of your life or your person and you find out that you walk past a tool that you need to effectively love your person or
Mhm.
effectively be loved by them or show them vulnerability, and you realize everything that you've done up until this point is actually going to be the same reasons why you lose your person.
Mm.
Is scary as all hell to be in that situation. And how do you reconcile that? I have survived all of these things, and it was this person that helped me through it. But I have to get rid of this person to love this person, to accept love from this person, to show up for this person. How do you get rid of the person that saved your life?
Deep.
And embrace a whole nother being, not knowing what they're going to bring into your world. Even though your experience tells you, if I trade her out for this person you need, she gets me hurt. She makes me want to need therapy. She's hanging off a cliff and has anxiety and depression because she can't hack it. This my soldier right here.
Yeah.
She gets me through. She
Yeah.
helps protect me. She helps to make sure no matter what comes up against me, I'm all right. You want me to put her on the bench and pull the vulnerable person that was in front of her back out? She couldn't hack it. That's why she came out in the first place. So in your mind, you're thinking, why go back for her? I get that she's needed and she's soft and she's this and she's that and it's beneficial. But it's hard to crave that person when that's the person that made you feel like you were losing it and hit rock bottom. That made you want to produce this stronger person, this stronger being, this protective nature. It's you have to be able to replace it with something. And I just uploaded a video where I was saying that even though you've gotten to this point, you can go all this way and achieve your highest achievement. And no matter how far you go on that masculinity, eventually you'll still have to come back and pick yourself up. The person you left.
Yeah.
Because that is you as well. And you actually need both of those beings. And we like to say you don't want her to be masculine, but in reality, you need both sides of me. You're trying to get me to get rid of one of them. She is just as necessary as my soft person. What you really want is me to achieve balance. You don't want me to get rid of her. But that's what we talk about. We act like I want you to get rid of her. And women don't want to. So they're fighting it. She doesn't have to. She needs to find her balance and slide down the meter some a little bit and get in better position so she can grab onto with both hands on both sides. She's too far on the right side. But that's not what we say. We say, I don't like this person, get rid of her. Don't nobody want her, get rid of her. Ain't nobody gonna marry her, get rid of her. But she's necessary.
Yeah.
Because the divine feminine is supposed to be soft and fragile because that's where the nurture and the care come from. But there's a whole nother side of us that's necessary because if your king or the person you follow or however your relationship dynamic is set up, if you're following somebody in front of you, when they're no longer present, you have to be able to march in their shoes. And sometimes the divine feminine can't do that. So she's still necessary, and we don't have that conversation enough for us to really understand what people are requiring of us as women. So you're either going to cause her to throw this person away, then you're going to be still talking about her. She always crying, and she always in her feelings, and she always... It's her masculinity that keep her from overflowing and getting out of control. It's not her divine feminine. Because that's all we do is cry and get in our feelings. All the way on the left side. You don't want her either. You do not want her either. I'm like, you tell me I can't have some of your candy, I'm gonna break down crying. What you mean? I thought you love me. You don't want to share with me. He's gonna be like, what the hell wrong with you? You made me throw my masculinity in the trash. That's what it is. If I would have been masculine, I'd have been like, forget you and that daggone candy. I can get my own.
And that's that right there. That I've had to say that so much. I'll do it myself.
Yes, and it is, and it's sad for us, like, because for us as women, I would like us to just be able to be, however that looks, for each of us individually, however that looks. Let me see you.
Yeah.
Instead of we have to consider so much of everybody else's opinions just to show up.
Yeah.
And can't nobody figure out why we confused and we don't know what we want and we don't know who we are. Because everybody's imposing their will onto us and not asking us how we want to show up and giving us the opportunity to execute.
Yep.
We got to factor in way too many people, and I think it's a good time for that to lay that down. And this spirituality is booming, queen.
Yeah.
And I love it. And seeing
Yes.
women say unapologetically, this is just what it's gonna be. I'm like, go ahead, sis.
I know that's right.
Whatever it look like for you, take it and run with it. That's what I
Hmm.
want to see. Go ahead, handle your business.
That's what's up. Well, I appreciate you coming on here and being transparent and telling your story. I know when I reached out, that's one of the things I said. I know a lot of people aren't um a lot of people don't like to talk about it.
Yes.
A lot of people don't like to talk about it. Um and it took me a minute. Like I'm more open now. But it's not easy.
Yeah,
For you to
for
come out
sure.
and tell your story and everything that you're going through. I know a lot of people look at you way different now, because
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had
Hmm.
no idea that you were going through so much. You can't
Oh
tell.
yeah, and the funny, well, ironic thing is, honestly, on your platform here today, this is the first time since I got diagnosed that I've been this open about the details of my condition. Like I've been open enough to say this is what I have,
Yeah.
or something of that nature. But as far as the experience, how it felt, what I think about,
Mhm.
I've never. I know that the time was supposed to come at some point, but I hadn't done it yet. So, but I knew it was needed just because it's the next chapter, and eventually addressing. And for me, that's where my healing is
Mhm.
sometimes people say don't put all your business out, don't tell anybody, but I'm a secret keeper.
Mhm.
I won't tell anybody about the horrors. And when I don't tell people, I fear people finding out. So my
Mhm.
release and my freedom is telling them myself to take their power away. What can you tell if I've already told the story?
Exactly.
And so for some people, and people don't understand that for some people and how they operate within their own existence, it's telling and opening up and speaking that is powerful.
Mhm.
And it was a pleasure. It is a pleasure to be able to do it along somebody that I feel like has touched me so much. Because hearing you speak and coming out to Monk's Corner, like, and I told you, I hugged you when you were talking about, paying homage to the ancestors and the people that we've lost. Like you just reached in my chest and grabbed a hold of me, and I had to come hug you because I was just like, how did I know she was going to do that? And I just lost my mom. Like, and I was just like, it connected me to you from that point on because I was holding it in. I was
Yeah.
holding it in and I needed that release. And just coming there to be with you during that moment, I met another sister, Miss Chantel, that was cooking for us.
Mhm.
And we made friends. And I
Mhm.
find out she suffered the same loss around the same time in the same
Yeah.
month. And now I have somebody to pick up the phone and call when I'm at my lowest and it's a bad day and I miss my mom. I can talk to somebody who understands how that feels. So it was like you were my bridge to that. And I'm grateful to be able to create more bridges for other people in your company. So I appreciate you having me.
Wow, thank you so much. That's my baby sister on the screen talking about, yeah, she thought you was a little mean. I'm sorry, sis.
Talking about me,
Yeah, she thought you was mean.
a lot of people that, but then that's the same thing. Did we just talk about our masculine?
Yeah.
Kelly, I get that a lot. They're like, always talking like you always. I'm just like, there's power in my voice because I've learned how to use it through experience. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have never learned how to use my voice in that way. But that's where a lot of my masculinity shows is when I have
Mhm.
something to say, I speak strong. And it
Yeah.
intimidates a lot of people, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean I don't have a feminine bone in my body. It just means I'm
Exactly.
confident when I speak because that's where I was nurtured by my family and it
Mhm.
shows. But that
Yeah,
doesn't mean I look at anybody else as less than because they aren't able to do the same. It's
exactly.
just an assumption that people make when they don't have the same quality. And I get that, but I'm not mean. I'm actually real fun and funny, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way. And that comes with, with the, like you've seen my show or whatnot. I have no choice
Yeah.
but to be that way, because if I go up there and say, "Hey y'all, everybody please come to the stage," nobody's gonna listen.
Yes.
But if I said,
Facts.
"Get over here right now," they gonna be like, "Oh, let me go." They do what you say.
Yes. And you
You
have a
know.
commanding presence. I'm telling you, listen, I remember you said that, and shoot, me and Jamie got up. Well, hell, let me go to the front.
You
I
have
said,
to
you
talk.
said, no, y'all way back there. I know y'all
Mhm.
heard what I said. I need y'all up
Exactly.
front and center. Me and Jamie
Yeah.
got up. Well, dang, let me get up there then.
You have to be. So it's like it is. It's hard to and that goes back to what the whole conversation that we were talking about. It might be for me to be this way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is my calling from the universe. Maybe I don't get the luxury of, you know always being able to just be in my feminine spirit. Like, that comes
Yes.
every blue moon. And I won't say every blue moon, because if you catch me in my private time, I'm very affectionate, I'm very huggy, like I'm
Yeah.
very loving. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that when it's time for the type of work that I do, I have to be firm. I have to look firm.
Yes.
You have to believe what I'm saying. you know
Yes. And I mean, and I understand that. Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say I understand that 100%. It's weird because I know you watch tons of Kev's videos. I'm like, you're so articulate and you're so smooth and this and that.
Mhm.
I said, I want to teach like you, right? I said, okay, I'm gonna stop cursing. And then I'll get on live and be like, yeah, no, it's a no for me. That's just who I am. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to come off like I like that vibe. It's so
Hmm.
smooth and so, but I just, for me, because of where I'm from and all of that is a part of me. And I feel like I shouldn't have to shake that off to make
Exactly.
you comfortable. And it's
Exactly.
just kind of, I said, I grew up in a more rough neighborhood and all of that. So, but even then, there's still women that hit harder than me when they teach. And people want to criticize them for their language and not being feminine. I said, but you need to understand that there are women that are still growing up in the gutters of those streets that they only hear a woman that sounds familiar to what they know. So
Hmm.
she's meant for them. She may
Hmm.
not reach somebody like me because I'm like, you're a little too rough around the edges and you don't speak very and this and that and the other. I might be for those people where I
Exactly.
can stand on the line and sometimes I can be that graceful spiritual person, but then I can turn around and be like, I know you better get your shit together. That's what I do
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and just and be myself. But then there's people that's all the way in the left direction where that's all they say is peace and love and everything's graceful and everything's butterflies and barrettes. And they're for people that need that. They need that soft approach. They need somebody to hold their hand and guide them in. Then there's somebody that's like me. I'm soft enough to bring you in, but real enough to give it to you straight. And then there's people that's just gonna give it to you straight. They're not gonna give it to you soft at all. There's a class of people that needs that representation as well because they're not going to be able to hear me. I might
Hmm.
be too soft for them perceivably. So it's like everybody has their own gifts and you can't criticize people for how they teach because they're here for people in specific.
Hmm.
So I feel like even though you may feel like you're not supposed to be extra feminine, there are people that can receive you only because of who you are.
Wow.
And if you were to shift into your femininity, there's people you're gonna lose because they don't vibe with you anymore. You're no longer on their frequency.
Mm.
And same thing in the opposite direction. So I used to want to criticize the conscious like community, like some of the brothers that were real like militant, you know, and like,
Hmm.
why do you teach like that? It's so aggressive and you're teaching so much hate and this and that and the
Hmm.
other. But then I had to fall back and check myself and say to myself, but they would argue that I'm soft. You're too kind to these people. You can't wake nobody up by teaching them this and teaching them like that. And I had to tell them, some people don't need the news like the way you give it. They will be rejecting of you because they receive your energy as an attack. I have to be the way that I am because they will open the door for me. They will open their ears for me because I don't come off like you. But then there's still some people that read me as rough, like the person that said they think I'm mean. She may, or that individual may need somebody that's further to the left side where they're 100% in their divine feminine, because anything more than that would be perceived as not being nice or being mean.
Yeah.
So we're all here for specific people. So I don't think we need to change, because if we do, we're losing the people we're meant for.
Deep.
You know, so I'm like, your femininity will kick in for those people you're meant to be feminine for. And when you need to be in your masculine, it will automatically rise to the surface because you will be able to sense what's going on in the room, and you'll know that you need that side of yourself for that moment. And the people that identify with you and they're on your frequency, they're not going to get swayed away from you either way, because they're with you the entire time. Those are the people you were created to be here for. The ones that love every bit of your frequency all the way across the board. The ones that are saying you're too this or you're too that. I'm not your person.
Exactly.
I'm here to plant a seed for you, but somebody else is meant to help you water it. I'm not for you. You have to find a different content creator. I'm not supposed to change. You're supposed to take this little piece and go run over there with it and come across whoever you're supposed to come across to take you the rest of the way. Go on, baby. I'm coming to get you. Give me a second. You yelling at me? I'm like, you gonna do that for the whole rest of the video?
I'll tell them we about to
So I'm
get
like,
off
I don't
here
feel
right
like you
now.
need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely. This was awesome.
Yes.
Completely awesome. I feel so good. I really do.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'm going to end with my Queen Afua mantra. The power to heal is within me, and I have the mighty power to heal myself in all my relations. For if I heal myself,
Love,
I
love.
heal all my relations. So continue to work on yourself. Continue to, heal in the best way that you know how, mentally, physically, spiritually, and keep being a good person. And thank you all for tuning in. Thank you once again, Lacey, for joining me. And why don't you end too
Of
with
course. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. Say that last part again.
why don't you end with y'all saying, you and Kev.
I couldn't
And
hear you.
you can't hear me?
It's going in and out. So you're breaking up. I'm getting bits and pieces. I can't understand what you're saying.
Oh, I was just saying, end with your rise quote. Still nothing?
Oh, usually when I go out, I say, may everything that you conjure up in your mind come into full manifestation for both you and your family and be utilized in a lucrative way.
And on that note,